Good afternoon, everybody, from the UK and from the Netherlands. Today, we're excited to introduce Roel Smit from our great customer, Rabobank. And Roel will be talking all about the elevation of your global brand reputation whilst truly empowering your local markets. Not an easy task when you've over 40,000 staff, but with some very talented and capable people across the teams and some good advice and the help of a certain piece of technology, Rabobank is making it happen very effectively. Papirfly and Rabobank have been working together for a few years now, since around 2020, when we were introduced by our mutual partner, the BIM Group, whose HQ is also in the Netherlands, and who provide Rabobank with strategic and creative branding expertise. Now, after a thorough evaluation of vendors, Rabobank concluded that Papirfly was the right tech to address their global challenges, and Papirfly was also the right tech to evolve with Rabobank. But I'll let Roel talk more about that in a moment. So, before I hand over, let me quickly explain the structure of the session. Roel will be presenting over the next half an hour or so about Rabobank, challenges, implementing and maintaining the right brand marketing platform, and importantly, measuring the value and the output of their brand portal. Following that, we'll have a fireside chat for around 25 minutes, and we'll also run an interesting poll to get a feel for where you folks are at with your own brand strategy. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat anytime. Where possible, we'll answer them in real time or later on if that's more practical. And we'd like to use some of your questions in the fireside chat too. So, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Roel Smit from Rabobank. Roel.
Well, thank you, Justin. The pleasure and the honor is all mine. Yeah, let's get started. So first off, let me introduce myself. I've been working with Rabobank for well over 12 years now. And originally, I have a marketing and content background. I was a content manager and a marketeer. Later, I was a team lead of content managers and content designers. But my love for content management and MRM systems and DAM systems has taken me to more technical part of the brand management. So as a part of the brand management team, I work with the head of brand, I work with the brand strategist and the head of design, and I have two people in my team here at Rabobank. And for the last 3 years, I've been working closely with the people at Papirfly, or Papirfly, to further our efforts to create the best possible brand environment. And I would like to emphasize that my main focus here is the brand portal, which is our brand platform, as a way of enabling healthy and structured brand management. But a lot of the things I will tell you are more about the brand strategy and the design, and that's the hard work of the brand strategist and the design manager I work closely with. So I want to kind of take you on this journey that we had the last couple of years and put that in context, and that's why I kind of included that as well. So who's Rabobank? Rabobank is a bank that emerged from a small agricultural cooperative bank that was first founded by Dutch farmers in the late 19th century. And starting in 1895, several banks were set up in different parts of the Netherlands based on the Raiffeisen system. And this was based on self-help and taking individual and mutual responsibility and the involvement of stakeholders. And today we're still committed to those same principles and to making a difference in society. And what kind of distinguishes Rabobank from other banks is the fact that we do not have shareholders, but we have members. And members are the basis of our cooperative bank. So started and rooted in the Netherlands, we are now active in 36 different countries. And you can see those numbers of the bank right here. And our brand positioning is growing a better world together through our cooperative mentality. And this brand positioning applies to Rabobank as an organization, but also to our Rabobank sub-brands and labels. And it's really quite complex. And the question is, so how do you kind of manage that? First of all, we're deeply rooted in the Netherlands on a local level with providing products and services like mortgages or payments or credit cards to, for instance, my grandmother in Haringsveld, Giesendam. But also we have large corporate and wholesale clients all the way down in Australia, as you can see right here. And you can just imagine how complex of a challenge it is to have these different products in these completely different worlds that we're operating in. But the cooperation is also rooted in our organization and our culture. And this means that we do not have a true hierarchic marketing and communications organization in a way of working, but rather a cooperative with different marketing and communications specialists focusing on their local area or their area of expertise. So this means that we have a complex layered organization, and not just that means it's really complex in itself, but there's also a lot of cultural differences while having to make a brand work on all these levels. So you want to be in control, but you also want to offer the flexibility of a brand, and keeping that brand message and identity coherent and consistency while building a brand on both a micro level but also on a global level is really quite a complex challenge. And what you can see here is our brand not too long ago. You can see all these brands, sub-brands, labels, different brands here. This is basically what it came down to a lot. There was no real strategy, and there was no real structure, and every entity kind of built its own brand. This did not really add up, but rather confused. And showing you all of these does not even take into account things like internal identifiers, for example. So there's a lot more than just these. And obviously, looking at this as a brand manager or as a design specialist, you immediately get a migraine. But this is, of course, the result of the large and complex structure that is our cooperative. And at the same time, this is what makes us unique. So this is something that you want to address, but you not really want to destroy, because we took a step back, and then we went back to our brand positioning, saying, the why, the how, and the what. And basically, how do we create a single and coherent, consistent brand while embracing our biggest strength, which is obviously our cooperative uniqueness. And kind of setting off on that task, I had the privilege of working with some of the most talented people I've come across during my working life. And we set off on the challenge of reinvigorating and reinventing and restructuring our brand, basically. So we approached it head on from all these different levels. And on the strategic levels, we kind of needed to redefine our brand architecture. That's the first one you see, and that, of course, is the domain of the brand strategist. We'll talk some more about that. Let's go back a slide, sorry. Yeah. And then, so the second is, if you kind of refine the brand architecture, you also need to kind of redefine your design structure as well. And that's, of course, the domain of our design manager or head of design. And finally, this also meant kind of reinventing our platform that is the brand portal as the single source of truth and the one-stop shop on everything brand. And that's where, obviously, I come in. So focusing first on that more of a strategic level, there we go. We needed to kind of build this into a single coherent brand. So going back to all the images with all the brands that you saw earlier, it was unclear what was Rabobank and what wasn't. Everyone that started anything basically set off on a journey of inventing a completely new brand with no regards for any type of policy. And there was policy, and there was a lot in place to kind of help, but it was rigid, and it felt dated and unappealing. So we needed a brand architecture framework that gave clear boundaries, but also offered enough flexibility to fit different needs and basic model to kind of fit in. And this, what you see here, this Rabobank by default is what it basically came down to. Clear guidelines telling people what type of sub-brand or label they're working on and what kind of rules and guidelines are combined with that kind of bucket was what it came down to. So setting off on this, this is basically what it came down to on a strategic level. And this was obviously not done in one day, and the amount of time and effort spent in just getting this started, but also getting everyone in the company to adhere to this is still a bit mind-boggling to me. But it was all the work of our brand strategist who got everyone in the company in line when it comes to all brands and how they fit in and what rules and regulations they should adhere to. So that was a really interesting project to see. So that also meant had implications for our design guidelines. So dusting off our slightly dated brand and opening a lot more possibilities also meant kind of refreshing and organizing our brand. Creating a flexible design work to facilitate the Rabobank brand, but also co-marketing, endorsement, and co-branding was essential. And that's basically what you see right here, all these elements. And the funny thing is, you see Myriad right here. This whole thing is not a Myriad. That has to do with a lot of other things, but there you can see a lot more challenge that you have from a design perspective. But important to realize this, we didn't really rebrand Rabobank, but it was rather an invigoration of our existing brand design. And we lifted the gray haze, if you will. So a younger, fresher version of the Rabobank while still recognizable. And this allowed for a period where older and refreshed brand could kind of coexist at the same time, which makes the transition of the brand assets, but everything brand, a lot easier. So that was really interesting from a design perspective. But that also came down to kind of reinventing our brand portal. And to be fair, I absolutely did not start from nothing. We had a brand portal, we had templates, and we had a good degree of adoption, which was really a large benefit in setting off on this journey. However, this portal was not really focused. It was really focused on templating. And was strongly aimed to have like really rigid rules for the templating. So people needed to fit in really restricted areas of templating. And this also was a very custom portal from a technical perspective, which meant that we were constantly pushing new ways of templating and development to fit our needs. And finally, our digital asset system and integration possibilities were very limited. So in short, this solution was kind of slow and expensive and dated, and we needed to redefine this brand portal as the part of the inspiration, but also the one-stop shop, everything brand. And we kind of rebuilt it from the ground up. And in order to do so, we kind of defined 3 guiding principles for our brand portal. So this is our first one. The brand portal exists to protect and strengthen the Rabobank brand, which is obviously what a brand portal should be. And we provide brand inspiration, brand experience, and support for creation of all Rabobank entities, employees, and external partners. So what you kind of see here is the scoping for this. So it's not limited. We're basically trying to touch everything brand, and we're aiming at every brand user we have, not only employees, but also external partners. So that's the first principle we based this on. And the second principle is brand and corporate identity guidelines should be inspiring and engaging, and inspiration and experience are more important than just creating tools. So the portal is more than just templating. It's not the place where you go to make something, and it's not the place to just find the brand dictionary, not just the rules. It's the starting point for any brand journey, whether it's to create something on brand or to just completely start a new innovative product that kind of needs a new brand or sub-brand. It's not just information, it's understanding a brand. That's what the second principle kind of entails. And the third, for creation, we focus on self-service and automation of creation and production processes. And furthermore, we deliver a professional and consistent brand while reducing costs in the process. So we want the user to be able to create everything themselves, preferably with the flexible tooling and templating we provide. But also, in case it doesn't fit, we kind of need to guide them through the process of creating something. And for the second part, cost avoidance, we like to talk about cost avoidance, not cost reduction, but cost avoidance from our brand perspective is only our secondary goal. And I can't emphasize enough that a coherent and consistent brand is our main goal from a brand management perspective. However, in the end, everyone obviously benefits greatly from reduced costs. So in terms of cost avoidance, the investment has paid itself off multiple times, but we'll get to that later as well. And it came down to these capabilities that are our core capabilities of our brand portal. So first, there's the guidelines. They're clear, compact, and visually supported information on specification, policies, do's and don'ts. So That's the kind of the library. But information must also be inspiring and as attractive and interactive as possible. So you kind of need to keep on building those brand guidelines, not just place them there as a policy, but also find ways to inspire people with your brand policy. And the second one is digital asset management. That's a clear and concise and complete media library that's well structured, and metadata and taxonomy are supported. So they need to be easily accessible and usable for users, but also for applications and distribution outside as well. And the third is focused on templating and collaboration. So it's easy to use, no threshold templates that can be used by non-designer users. That's really important. So templates should be easy to adapt and configure because you want to constantly kind of reinvent them and be dynamic on it. And there needs to be support for collaboration between same and different levels in the organization. So for instance, you should have one master template that allows for complete creation, but also allows specific user groups like our central marketing organizations to create new templates with limitations and locks to kind of support specific templates for specific campaigns, for example. So that allows for collaboration with all different levels in the organization. And as you've seen, that's really important to a cooperative organization. And finally, integration, which is really important as well. So API integration with other systems through an API gateway, for example, but also connections to other brand solutions. For instance, we use a brand solution called Papirfly. There's also to connections to other data solutions, for instance, our CRM, where you can take data from there as well. And you have other connections like SharePoint, invoicing systems, printing systems, all that. So these will allow for a smooth workflow and automation, which is really important for users. And from this, we found that the ideal for us was Papirfly. And we went ahead and we kind of set up the portal. And that's where our brand portal came down to. But just setting up a portal in itself is not enough. You need to get everything involved. So I've seen products and I've also seen brand portals being set up where an owner just sets it up and just expects people to come just because it was built. Just because something is a good idea doesn't mean people will come and show up to kind of use it. So we got stakeholders involved as early as possible. So even before we kind of went into the capabilities and the needs of our brand portal, we got everyone's input and asked them to test and to participate, who and why and what's the goal here, and have them invest and create value for them. They might just be looking for a way to create a smoother process of workflow, but as a brand portal and as a brand specialist, you want to kind of get into that. So you kind of give them value by evening out their workflow, but you can kind of take control of that from a brand perspective. And once you kind of define those requirements and those capabilities that you need, you kind of need to keep on working with them and show all the stakeholders, and with stakeholders, I mean pretty much everyone in the company, define different user groups, show them the progress, and make them ambassadors to your brand and to your portal. So they will talk to others and get everyone involved and carry your message, basically. And every time you come up with a new template, with a new tool, demonstrate, evaluate, get feedback, and take the next step. And also, even if you're completely done, do periodic roadshows and get feedback to go even further. And also keep everyone informed. Use newsletters, internal communications, get endorsements from your CEO, but also make it part of the onboarding process. That was really important as well. So everyone gets access to the brand portal as soon as possible. And finally, what we also did was we invested in making easy and handy tools such as business cards and email signature. That means they need to kind of use the portal straight away whenever they just want to create something, and starting with a business card. So what you will find is that you will continuously need to adapt and improve, but your employees will kind of carry on and carry it even further and be an ambassador of both your brand and your brand portal. So that was really important to us. So and what it came down to is we kind of measure our effectiveness of the brand portal by use and by the users of the portal, and we set a number of KPIs to measure the following achievements. And so the first one is the brand portal, a one-stop shop for a brand-driven organization, and highly adapted solution integrated in brand users' daily ongoings. So it's a that means it's a central and vital part of a brand organization, and it's actually part of people's daily works and daily dealings. And this makes brand top of mind. And to put this kind of in numbers on our success, we, as you saw, we have about 43,000 employees, and we have 20,000 active users in our brand portal. And 2,500 of those users actually use it multiple times a month. And we have about 400 users that use our brand portal on a daily basis. So that makes the brand portal like central to their work. And this also means that you can centrally control and communicate changes in your brand and keep it dynamic. So you can have your brand and your design dynamic, but you can also communicate related policies and information from a brand perspective. So getting into cost avoidance is what we call it. So this is really nice for anyone's business case, but most of you are probably wondering about the exact numbers. I'm not going to give you them, but just imagine in just 2023, we created, or rather our users created 23,000 assets. And I'm not even counting like business cards or other smaller templates. These are just created assets. I'm also not even taking into account reuse of some of these assets as well. So just imagine having those 23,000 assets, and just let's say they're 100 euros an asset, which is, I think, is really low. Just imagine the amount of cost that we avoided, is what we're saying. The reason that we say avoidance and not reduction is that for a lot of these things is it's a question if they will even be created, because you can create so much more material so much faster that some of this material might not even have been created otherwise. So just imagine how much cost avoidance you have. Finally, I'd like to emphasize that we also do not differentiate between internal or external creations or assets. So there might also be a percentage of internal use for these assets, but at the same time, that shouldn't matter, because you want to have everyone internally and everything internally on brand as well. So that all kind of leads to a coherent and consistent brand, and most of our brand users are on board when it comes to brand, and everything created in templates is on brand, and there's more consistency internally, and creation is top of mind. So even things that are not created in a brand portal is created with our preferred suppliers, and everyone knows how to find these preferred suppliers, and all these preferred suppliers also have access to our brand portal, and we also train them. We have them use the brand portal as well. So just imagine that not only is your organization on brand, but also your external suppliers are on brand as well. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that everything everything is koek en ei, as we would say in Dutch, that everything is great. You know, we have ongoing challenges. Our work is never done. So first off, keep paying attention to all of your stakeholders, not just the masses. So as soon as you start having success and people are invested and they're on board, they want more. They want more templates. They want more possibilities. They want more flexibility. They want to be on board. And there's a real danger in just catering to your most vocal and your largest stakeholder group. So you need to keep an eye on those stakeholders as well. For us, for example, we have a lot of stakeholders inside of the Netherlands, and it's really easy to lose sight of those stakeholders in Australia and to lose sight of those stakeholders in Argentina. So we need to keep working, and we need to find ways to kind of cater to their needs as well. So that's the first one. And the second one is if you're allowing people to create and you allow a certain degree of flexibility, it can be hard to keep that quality up to a standard that you would want from a brand perspective. So you allow them to create as well, even though things are limited and constrained. You want to offer them that flexibility. There's a real challenge there, but you kind of need to keep on training them and make them designers. And there's a challenge there as well. And finally, there's ongoing new ideas and innovations within your company. Everyone tries to come up with new tools, new ideas, new templates, but also new channels that we need to kind of cater to. And you need to have your feel for your organization, and you need to talk to a lot of people to keep everything on board and make sure they adhere to everything in the brand portal as well, and ideally keep them connected as well. So yeah, that's what our ongoing challenges are for our brand and our brand portal. Yeah, so that's kind of the story I have for our brand portal and the use of our brand portal.
Thank you, Roel. That was really enlightening and inspiring. And kudos to you and the whole Rabobank team for hitting some remarkable achievements. So
thank you very much.
And so as we move to the next stage of the webinar, we've started to see some questions and comments from the attendees come through. Please do keep those questions coming. Kicking off, an immediate question I would ask, and I think I can dovetail Willem's question into this about what you used beforehand, or what various disparate tools you used beforehand. But you talked about the core differences on an earlier slide between brand portal technology and DAM technology, and that was great. But let's put it another way. At a Rabobank enterprise level, what does a brand portal mean beyond simply being a DAM?
Yeah, all right. Thank you for that question. So there's actually two kind of questions there. And let me first go into what we used to have. So right now we're seeing technology that is way beyond something that we used to have, and we used to work with a custom platform that was just built specifically for us. So we didn't have a SaaS product or a product that was readily done. We rather had a party that kind of kept developing a product for us, with us providing them with ideas and just development ideas. So basically what it came down to is really something really custom, and that's something you want to avoid at all costs. Look at a specialist that is really good at what you're asking. So go back to the core of what is it you're looking for and what do I need? And to answer the second part of your question, if you're just looking for a DAM, to me, just DAM is just a single source of truth for storing and distributing assets. And for a lot of DAM solutions are just focused on having those assets and getting them out there as fast and as quickly and as easy as possible, which is something that you might need and is really good in itself. But to me, brand portal technology is way more than that. As you saw, the capabilities that we have are way beyond the needs that you would have from just a DAM system. So complex enterprises to me need way more than a DAM system, whereas DAM is a really good way to store and distribute assets. It's more of a technical approach, and to me and to us, DAM is only one perspective, one small aspect, I should say, of brand management, and all these ways of just getting brand users to think about the brand, not just those assets, but also creation tools, but also those guidelines, and go even further than that. So your design language, your campaigns, everything you want to kind of have on brand control in one way or another. And that's what our brand portal offers us.
Fantastic. Well, you talked about technology and how technology isn't all, it's about the people and what have you, but ultimately the role of tech is evolving. So in brand management platforms, how do you see that tech role evolving in the context of things like brand management, brand governance in particular, which you focused a lot on? And you can use the dreaded AI word.
Yeah, let me get into AI, because I think, to me, but I think also to a lot of people here, that's the buzzword. That's something we feel strongly about. So the impact of generative AI on a generation of any sort of content, it is obviously going to be immense. And I really feel and see that in the future, the creators of content are going to be more co-pilots. I really like that idea that Microsoft came up with in the term co-pilot. So instead of creating something yourself, you ask something to do it, and you kind of check and do it. But at the same time, that AI is not the final, does not have the final say. There should always be a person that kind of looks at it and does this make sense from a brand and marketing perspective. I think the challenge is going to be to not just have a general generative AI. So there's a lot of generative AI already out there. So there's open AI, but also all these generative AI things that create video and create images. They create really good creative images, and they're especially good in creative images. But for all these solutions that I've seen, I've found it really hard to see a brand-specific trained AI, and I think that's going to be a long way still. And obviously, for text and for maybe some smaller things like illustrations, I think we're pretty close. And text in OpenAI is already here, I guess. But to get everything on brand, I think that's going to be years, maybe even a decade away.
Sounds like a challenge to somebody there.
Yeah. At the same time, this will require like a new way of working and creating and thinking, and this will fundamentally change our skill set. And I'm not saying ignore it and wait for it in a couple of years. Prepare for it, but at the same time, don't think that this is going to change everything tomorrow already. But obviously, this is going to change what we do and how we use the brand immensely. And obviously, there's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of people already in the company that are already trying new ways of implementing AI, and that, from a brand perspective, is really dangerous, I think. So, yeah, that's where I stand on the use of AI. And so AI, you can kind of implement some rules into AI, but it won't stick to them at the moment. The generative AI is not there yet to kind of create things that are fully on brand and fully in line with what you want it to be.
Yeah, so it's doing some crazy, interesting stuff, but in terms of on brand, we're a long way away from that. But it's evolving, isn't it? On a weekly, monthly basis, things are just getting better, and braver, and bolder.
Yeah, but at the same time, technology, and especially brand platforms, I do not see how we go from the situation that we're in right now, with our brand portal being such an important part of our marketing and communications ecosystem. I don't see a way back from this. It needs to be just an inherent part of everything that is at least for a complex organization that has multiple layers, that operates on a global level, on a local level. You need some kind of, you don't just need a good strategy and a good design, but you also need a platform to kind of put those on.
Absolutely. It's you've got to be aware of the whole damage that it can cause if you don't get it right, and trying to unravel that damage to go back to where you were, which actually was a good place. So yes, it's a bold move forward, but one that needs to be very carefully assessed before you're ready to make small steps forward in that direction.
Yeah.
Talking of AI, I've seen a few questions coming through, so let's sort of blend the chat across the questions in the Q&A. Isabel's asked, is Papirfly looking at AI optimized solutions? Yes, we are actually, despite what we're talking about, and obviously this does need to be careful. we need to be careful around AI optimized solutions, especially regarding templates and content generation. Not so much asset generation, but with templates, be more generation of a social media template. So perhaps it would look at choosing the right image or suggesting the right words. But clearly there needs to be an understanding of the brand. There needs to be governance built into these things. And at the back end, some sort of final human approval process to make sure that perhaps if we are making small steps, treading carefully in this domain, it's been carefully monitored and managed. And certainly I would suspect that you'd want a close eye, almost run it as like a proof of concept type of strategy before you sort of embark on full AI generated assets and templates. I've got another question here, Roel. Again, it's regarding content generation assets. It's from Mauricio, and thanks for sharing. Roel, you mentioned in 1 year there was 23,000 assets produced by your users. So the question is, are you currently using the template creator from Papirfly, or is it one of the tools that your users utilize to create assets? It would be helpful for self-service for assets like roll-ups, digital signage, and social media posts. So, what's your take around those 23,000 assets produced?
No, those are ready to use assets. So we have templates for all different kinds of things. So templates for posters, advertisement. We have templates for social media. We have templates for email as well. Even a lot more that I don't think of right now, like folders, flyers, everything. When I'm saying those 23,000, those are actual things that were created and then used, that are fully usable. So they're finished from a template. So we have, like I said earlier, we have one master template, which you can basically start from scratch. You have nothing, but you can create templates based on those templates, which, for example, for a campaign where you want to have a campaign on a local level, where you have, for example, a mortgage campaign, where you have an image of your local surroundings, then you basically can create a template that will allow that you can kind of lock certain text in, but you can allow users to create a template to create a material with them just replacing the image. That will count as something that was created as new. So that counts as one created item. And we have 14 of these different areas. So sometimes when we have a marketing campaign, they create a new template, and then one of those templates is used to create 14 or sometimes even more items on it. Does that answer the question?
It certainly did for me. We'll let Mauricio enter more messages if any more clarifications needed there. Marcus has asked an interesting question. I'm not sure if that's around templates and creating assets, or if it's just around the general topics that reside within the portal. But Marcus asked, how broad is the range of brand topics that are in the brand portal? Is it restrained to just 2D design like print and web, or is three-dimensional brand topics like interior design of retail outlets? Do you venture there? As I said, I don't think that's around templates, more just general themes and topics.
Yes, it is. So obviously we do not have templates, or maybe it's not obvious, but we do not have templates for anything like 3D or interior design. We do have a lot of, first of all, we do have a lot of guidelines on there. And even if they're not, sometimes you get a request of someone asking, I want to have something in a 3D environment, and our design manager gets on board and they create something, and she also creates design guidelines based on that project and adds them to the brand portal as well. So it's dynamic and changes continuously. But yeah, there's all different things on there. So how do you create booths for events? Also, how do you portray stickers on a car? how do you put our logo on a pencil? There's different ways of doing, and they're all on there. Also, we have inspiring projects that we use. So sometimes when they create, and especially for something that is obviously not in templates, when you have something like created for 3D, we kind of display those projects as well, so people can draw inspiration from that, or even reuse those in a similar way.
Perfect. Thank you for that. We're going to go to a poll in just a moment. I think I'll just put one more question in before we do. And the question is, this is from Craig. Does your HR team use the brand management platform for things like talent acquisition, recruitment, marketing, employer branding? If it's no, why not? When are you going to start? That was my
yes.
answer.
Yes, the answer is yes, but not as intimately as we would like to, because their design, they have a somewhat different design, and they're also allowed to have a somewhat different design. But at the same time, they do use it, and they do use it a lot, especially in terms of campaigns. And we're actually talking to them right now because they have a lot of assets in there as well, but we want to have them add templating in as well. And we're talking to them on how and what. And yeah, this is something we're still working on to improve. But yes, they're working in there, but we want to even go even further than that.
Perfect. And that reminds me of I think your last main slide, we talked about ongoing new ideas and innovations. Well, there's one, and that's the great thing. You can build up these new areas within the platform and really hit that team well with the right tone of voice, the right relevant messaging. When we talk about localized, we're not always necessarily talking about localized regions, but we can be talking about sort of the correct segmentation of the different markets that you're talking to. Shall we do a poll? Let's do a poll. I'm going to ask my worthy colleague if you could set that poll up. The poll is for the whole audience here. Please talk to us about your current brand strategy. How confident are you that all of your teams are aligned around your brand strategy and being able to create on-brand content? It's a specific question, so if you don't have a precise fit, please choose the option that comes closest. Broadly, option 1 means you've got a long way to go, and option 5 means you've pretty much nailed it around brand strategy, brand execution, content creation. So please do enter your answers now. So here we are. Yeah, number 1 is you're lacking structure and tools for on-brand execution. Option 2, which seems quite popular already, we've got some structure and tools to help us stay on brand. Option 3, mostly on brand, but don't really have those data insights that we need. Option 4, getting really good now, we're on brand, we're brand ready, just aligning operationally. And number 5, be interested if anyone declares this one, every aspect of your brand management is under control. Of course, number 5 is going to be very difficult for anyone to achieve because the world and the market's always changing. And even if you feel you got there once, someone has, well done you. So just give it another moment or two to let those answers finalise. I think I can already see that we're broadly ready. Please continue to fill in if you haven't done already, but I think we've got a clear winner, and that's option 2. So that suggests that most of you have some structure around your brand marketing or brand strategy, the execution, ability to empower users to create their own content, but you've got some structure around it, some of the tools to stay on brand, but yeah, you're lacking maybe those data insights. You're not fully on brand. You've got some internal alignments to be pushing forward on. So that's quite interesting. Roel, that is interesting. Actually, I think one of the questions was at Marta earlier. A logical next question from that suggestion, if you're loosely at a 2 out of 5 that suggests that a lot of teams are aspiring to do more, to do better, and perhaps looking to move towards a new brand portal. So the question is, how on earth do you build a business case for this all-singing brand portal, considering right now budget constraints, staff constraints that seem to be a constant across so many businesses everywhere these days?
Yeah, it's obviously, it's a really good question, and it's really difficult to answer this for any type of organization. But I think just kind of pointing to our business case here, if you're looking at how much you're creating and how much you're spending on outside agencies and how much you can kind of avoid, that's just one part of the business case. The second one is, so even if we just have a technology to kind of support this, there's so much more that we can create so much faster that our time to market really increases a lot. So that's a second one. But third, and that's always the hardest, and that's also the hardest to kind of start with. But to us, your brand is the most important thing for getting any sort of message across. If you want to sell anything, you do a lot of marketing, but those are just the final dimes and quarters, as we say. But people really choose with their hearts, and they're really looking to your brand to kind of make those decisions. So I think those three things, just things cost we can reduce, cost we can avoid, and just the immense brand power we can create with tools. Those are the things I would kind of suggest putting in a business case. But obviously, it's easy for me to say, because I started from a situation already where this was accepted and where everyone was on board, and now it's so embedded in our organization that I can't see a world where we do without it. And it really empowers your brand. So hopefully, I gave you a little bit of how you can structure that, but that's what it comes down to.
Interesting stuff. Now, following on from that, we've talked a little bit about localization, segmentation, central marketing, local marketing. I think I saw one of the questions as well in there. Following on from that business case question, how important is that collaboration between a central marketing team, corporate team, and local marketing teams, maybe in the regions, maybe in sort of different business areas like HR? How important is that collaboration between those teams in establishing and maintaining brand integrity and the brand management?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's really important. I would say maybe even the most important thing. So what I've seen in the past, and I would really be hesitant to say every aspect of brand management is under control for us either. So it's an ongoing thing and thing you should always focus about. But I'd say collaboration between central and local marketing teams is really important for maintaining brand integrity. What I've seen is central teams putting out content or a story, and then basically expect those local teams to kind of pick it up and run with it. And that local team doesn't really understand the story or doesn't know how to use it, because it's just something that they come up with on a central level and doesn't really translate very well to a local level. So they kind of have their own stories then, and that kind of gets mixed in. So that leads to confusing mix of messages, and you should have a continuous conversation, I think, on all levels with an overarching story, which is obviously your brand, that translates well on all levels. And at the same time, you should have dialogues that work well on a local level and what works on a central level as well. And a brand portal can, so our technology, our platform can kind of facilitate that, but you need to be in a constant communication on that central and a local level to kind of get that going. So don't just go out there and think, I make this policy or I make this story and everyone else should work with this. They have their own goals, they have their own stories, they have their own ideas on what that is and what it should be. So keep that conversation going, I would say.
Fantastic. Interesting. There's a couple more questions that dig even deeper into this decentralized, local, central area. So let me hit you with them and see what you would say. Marcus has asked another question around using approval workflows for assets, but interested in distinguishing between local approvals, HQ approvals, how are you managing that? Because what one local region wants to say, what they believe is their tone of voice might conflict with HQ and vice versa. So
that is completely possible in the solution that we currently have, and there are a number of possibilities in that. So, but I would like to kind of emphasize that we kind of want to have that freedom and that flexibility where we offer those guidelines. Those are pretty tight, but at the same time, they offer a lot of flexibility for those local levels to operate within. So we don't want to continuously monitor what they're doing, or we want to monitor it, but we don't want to control it all the time. So we do not have a lot of those approval workflows by default, but at the same time, we do have them. So for certain assets, we have them. For certain templates, we have them. But also on a local level, we want those. We want the principle where people check each other's work. So if I create something on that local level, I need to ask approval from one of my coworkers in order to be able to use it. And how that works is you create something, looks really cool. You ask for approval, and only after approval are you able to use it either in a workflow, so hit the order button or download it. But there's also workflows where you can fully control in a campaign, for example, if anything that gets created within the campaign needs to have approval from the campaign owner in order to be used. So yeah, there's all these different workflows that we introduced in our portal.
Thank you, Roel, for that one. This question, drifting more into the sort of compliance and security area, but how do you address challenges faced around compliance, security, privacy when managing global assets? I'm guessing GDPR, EU, but a global requirement is one example of where that question is directed.
Yeah, there's no really easy answer to that because for every small aspect, there's rules and legislation. There's different legislation in the US than there is in Australia and there is in the EU. So it would be really hard to answer that with one single answer. But the best answer would be, I guess, that we are in constant contact with security specialists and compliance specialists that kind of help us there. But also the platform itself offers all different types of possibilities, like a GDPR consent manager, and we have different things built in to make sure that our legal and compliance is met. But yeah, that's an ongoing challenge as well, and that's something I would like to go into, and it takes a lot of time and effort. It takes a lot of my time and effort to not just set up these templates and get everything going, but also make sure that it's all right on a legal and compliance level.
And do you find that that's restricted Rabobank in any way? You're going, oh goodness, these privacy measures mean we can't go to market with the campaign we wanted, or there's a compliance blocker. It's either stopped you or delayed you. Do you see it getting away, or do you think you've managed it well enough that you can?
No, we managed it well enough because we started out with so everything in our portal. We started out with those with privacy by design thinking. We started out with security by design thinking. So if you start there from the start when setting up your portal, obviously you're going to run into challenges like these regardless. but you can face them head on because you've already tackled a lot of them in the early stages.
Fantastic. I think we're getting close now, but I think we've got time for maybe just one more question. I quite like this one from Mario. I deliberately saved it to the end. I know the answer to it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you have a dam system connected to Papirfly?
The answer to that is yes. We do have another dam system as well. As I said earlier, so we have dam systems that are specialized in distributing assets really quickly, and sometimes in your organization. So one of the things that is not in our brand portal, and I don't want to have in our brand portal, is our content management system. That our content management system is used for our website, but also for our app. So and also our payment environment. So that's a really complex content management system, and they needed really specific dam requirements. And so they set up a specific dam to support that CMS. That obviously offers a real big challenge in if you're saying dam is the single source of truth of any asset, then which one is it? But we've connected two dams where we're saying, so from a brand perspective, all the brand approved assets, the actual truth is in the brand portal, and those get pooled, or those get they get pooled into the other dam system where they're used. But the single source of truth is our portal. But yeah, that dam is also used in a variety of other ways as well, where they have assets used in another way. If you want architecture on that, that's going to be really challenging. But if you want to talk to that, I'm always open to any sort of conversation. I'm really interested in challenges that other people run into. So in that case, I'd say, closing up on this as well. Find me on LinkedIn, and we'll plan a meeting where we can discuss any of these challenges, not just the question here, but also anything that you would like to kind of address or talk about.
Thank you, Roel. That's really appreciated. I'm sure many of the audience will take you up on that offer. Everybody, that is about all we have time for today. Thank you all for joining and participating. We will share a recording link with you by email shortly, so you can rewatch or share with your colleagues. And Roel, I've so enjoyed speaking with you today. Thank you so much for your time, insights, and your enthusiasm. You're an inspiration. Remember, everyone, do get in touch with either of us for any more information. Roel on LinkedIn, myself, LinkedIn, any way you like, or for any info or help you need. But pretty much it's goodbye from me, from Roel, and hopefully we'll see you soon at our next webinar. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.